Hi everybody, this is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Today we're talking about anthocyanins. These are compounds that we find in a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, and I've mentioned them quite a bit of times when talking about the nutrition and health benefits of all sorts of foods that I've covered. So I thought it would be good to talk a little bit about these compounds that we're finding in foods so we can understand a little bit more about them. To see my complete article on anthocyanins, check the link below in the description box. Anthocyanins are a very large group of water-soluble colored pigments that we find in all sorts of plants. They can be in flowers, and they can be in fruits, and they can be in the leaves, stems, and roots of assorted other plants, including vegetables. So they're found in a lot of plants. There are actually over 600 different anthocyanins that have been identified in plants, so the group is very large. The color and stability of this colorful pigment is affected by pH, light, temperature, and its own structure. Acidic conditions make the pigments red, whereas alkaline conditions turn them blue. A prime example, if you were to cut red cabbage and you've got some of the juice from that in the bowl, it'll be on the purplish reddish side. When you rinse it off with tap water, you'll find that that red color, purple color, turns to a blue, and that is because the pH has changed from acidic to more alkaline with the addition of the tap water in there. Anthocyanins have a variety of functions in the plants that contain them, not just in human bodies, but in the plants where they come from. They serve as antioxidants in the plants, they serve as protectants from UV light, and also defense mechanisms, and they also play a role in pollination and reproduction of the plant as well. So they're not just there for our sake, but really for the sake of the plant's lifespan and life cycles and different functions within the plant. And when we eat them, we get to benefit from them as well. They are the pigments that make a lot of foods red, purple, or blue, and the amount of anthocyanin found in a food is generally proportional to the depth of the color of the skin of the food. I'll say it again, the amount of anthocyanin in a food is proportional to how deep the color is in the skin of the food. A prime example of that would be blueberries. They're a very dark, purplish, almost blackish color, and they're loaded with anthocyanins. Sometimes the anthocyanins are not just in the skin, but in the flesh itself. An example of that would be red berries like raspberries and cherries. They're red throughout, and so they've got the anthocyanins not only in the skin area, but also in the flesh as well. Plants containing these compounds have been used for eons as medicine and also as natural colorants or dyes. Regarding the health benefits of anthocyanins, they have been found to be potent antioxidants, and they also have antimicrobial properties as well. They improve our eye health and our neurological health, meaning our brain health, and they can also offer some protection against a variety of diseases. They can help to ward off diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular disease, obesity, and inflammation. As I said earlier, they are potent antioxidants, and so most of the health benefits that we realize from eating anthocyanins is attributed to their antioxidant effects. And being an antioxidant, it helps to squelch and neutralize harmful free radical molecules that are in the body, and this is very, very important in helping to reduce our risk for the types of diseases that I already mentioned. Excessive free radicals in the body can damage DNA, it can damage our cell membranes and other parts of cells, and they have been linked with many illnesses, including diabetes, heart disease, cancer, degenerative eye diseases, atherosclerosis, dementia and Alzheimer's, asthma, inflammatory joint disease, and more. Interestingly, the body does make its own antioxidants, but the body needs so many antioxidants that it's important that we get them from foods to help neutralizing the free radicals in the body. There are some other factors that we take in with our foods that act as antioxidants, like vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A, or in the form of beta-carotene, and some minerals like zinc and selenium. But it is important for us to obtain these other antioxidants from foods as well, so we can be sure that we have enough to help ward off disease. Now, with regard to cardiovascular disease, anthocyanins directly help to relax our blood vessels, lowering blood pressure, and they can also help to prevent excessive clotting. They're also known to help increase the formation of our HDL or high-density lipoprotein cholesterol molecules, while they in turn decrease the formation of the LDL or the low-density cholesterol molecules, which is a good thing. Anticancer effects, anthocyanins suppress tumor growth, inflammation, and angiogenesis, which is the development of blood vessels that will feed cancerous tumors. It helps to squelch that process. And anthocyanins have been seen to be a deterrent to esophageal, breast, colon, prostate cancers, as well as leukemia. They also have some anti-diabetic effects. They have been found to increase insulin sensitivity, reducing insulin resistance, and thereby helping to control our blood sugar levels and keep them down where they should be. This in turn helps to ward off diabetes. Anthocyanins have also been shown to help have some positive effects on our vision. They improve visual function in patients with glaucoma. They've been found to improve our blood flow to the eyes without increasing the pressure within the eyes. A research project found that anthocyanins reduced inflammation in the photoreceptor cells in our eyes and helped to improve their function. And anthocyanins have been found to improve our dark adaptation, and this is really important for people who have poor night vision. They've also been found to help prevent the formation of cataracts, especially in diabetic subjects. Anthocyanins have also been found to have antimicrobial properties. Researchers have found that they help to protect the cell walls, our cell walls, from damage due to invasive microbes. They have been found to be effective against a variety of gram-negative bacteria like E. coli, Staphylococcus aureus, Listeria, Pseudomonas, a variety of them that can cause some serious illness with people. So the anthocyanins can help to protect us from those bacteria. Anthocyanins also have some anti-obesity effects. They have been found to slow weight gain and suppress the formation of fatty tissue while improving lipid profiles, like I already mentioned, in obese subjects. Researchers have also found that anthocyanins reduce blood and urine sugar concentrations in obese subjects. So if you're striving to lose weight, if you're fighting type 2 diabetes, it would be in your interest to eat anthocyanin-rich foods as much as you possibly can. They also have neuroprotective effects. The anthocyanins have been found to protect against inflammation and degeneration of nerve fibers. The effects offer protection against Alzheimer's disease by preserving memory and synaptic nerve transmission functions. Also, anthocyanins were found to offer protective activity by suppressing dopamine-producing cell death, commonly found in Parkinson's disease. So, if you're not eating foods that are loaded with anthocyanins, let me encourage you to start including them in your diet. What foods are those? Deeply colored foods with red, purple, or blue hues in them would contain a lot of anthocyanins. They're especially high in berries like elderberries, chokeberries, bilberries, black raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries. They're also found in black currants, black olives, goji berries, red cabbage, black plums, cherries, red and black grapes, strawberries, red raspberries, cranberries, black rice, wild rice, purple corn, red onions, red radishes, pomegranates, purple cauliflower, blood oranges, rhubarb, black beans, eggplant, black and purple carrots, and other foods as well. So if it's got a rich color to it, chances are it's got anthocyanins in there. So look for the red and the blue and the purple colors in particular. Now I've got some other interesting notes here that compare fresh with frozen foods like the berries versus cooking them in some way. And the results to this are not what you would expect. So I want to bring it to your attention. Researchers have found that anthocyanins in fresh foods degrade relatively quickly after being harvested. So when fresh and frozen foods were analyzed for their anthocyanin content, they found that frozen foods like frozen berries actually contained higher amounts of anthocyanins than their fresh counterparts that already spent 3 to 10 days in refrigeration after harvest. Remember, when foods are frozen, they freeze them very quickly after being harvested, whereas when they're transported to the grocery store, they might be held in cold storage for a little bit. They're transported in cold storage. They're in cold storage at the grocery store, and then they're brought onto the shelf and they sit there for who knows how long before you pick them up. Fresh is good, but in this case, because they are frozen so quickly, it helps to preserve the anthocyanins better than in the ones that you find fresh in the store. Now that being said, if you're growing your own and you're picking them and you're eating them right away, then fresh is best. Or if you're getting them at the farmer's market where they were picked that morning, then fresh is going to be a wonderful choice. Excellent. Otherwise, if you're in it for the anthocyanins, go for the frozen rather than the fresh that may have been on the grocery store shelf for who knows how long. Cooking brings up another interesting point with regard to the anthocyanins. In a 2014 issue of the Food Research International Journal, researchers compared the anthocyanin levels in foods that were cooked with different methods versus those that were fresh. They found that the foods that were cooked with moist heat, like being boiled or being steamed in some way, lost the most anthocyanins. I'll say that again. Foods that were cooked with moist heat methods tended to lose the most anthocyanins. The greatest loss took place when they were cooked with pressure steam. Well, most of us don't pressure steam unless you have a pressure cooker. Then if you're cooking berries or red cabbage maybe, you're going to lose a lot of the anthocyanins that way. Very interestingly, the dry heat methods of cooking, which was microwaving and baking, tended to actually increase the concentration of anthocyanins in the foods that they tested. So anthocyanins were increased the most when foods were microwaved. That's opposite what many people would think. Yes, the microwaving does have an effect on foods, but when we're talking about anthocyanins, it actually preserved them and it increased the concentration of them, which is opposite what you might expect. Based on the results of the studies that I read, if you must cook a food that happens to be high in anthocyanins, bake it if you possibly can. If you want to microwave it, go ahead and microwave it, but baking it is an excellent way to preserve the anthocyanins that are in that food. When you're eating fresh foods that are rich in anthocyanins, like berries, use them as quickly as you can after you purchase them, if you're consuming frozen foods like berries, to obtain the most anthocyanins out of those frozen selections, either use them frozen or allow them to thaw naturally or very, very briefly in the microwave. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I'll do the best I can to address them. I also remind you to look at the full article that I've got on my blog, and the link is below. This is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Take care. Bye for now.